this morning. And I want to say, I'm not going to brag too much, but I was quite the scholar, like 30, 35 years ago. Actually, pastor said, hey, Matt, we're going to be talking about Noah. Do you know anything about it? Can you do this? You think? And I was like, yeah, I know a guy. So, in fact, I have 35 years of experience of in-depth biblical knowledge of Noah. In fact, I went to Sunday school. I grew up just like these little kiddos growing up, and I can show you a factual representation of what Noah's Ark looked like. Yes. All of the giraffes, yep, the heads above there, the lions, surprisingly enough, not eating the monkeys, right? This is how Noah's Ark is. I said, PK, no problem. We got it down. In fact, I am such a biblical scholar that I remember this great verse. I forget what, I forget the actual reference here, but go ahead and say it with me. You guys will know it. The Lord told Noah to build him, and go ahead, an arky, yes. Go ahead. Build it out of gopher, barky, children of the Lord. Great. So, and I think that's from Genesis somewhere in there, probably chapter 2752. Okay, great. So, that's step one, right? We all know that. God said, Noah, build an ark out of gopher, barky. Fact one. All right, fact two. Let's go ahead and bring it up. The animals, they came in. They came in by twosies. Elephants and kangaroosies, children of the Lord. Great, so now we know. Step one, God said, Noah, build an ark, no problem, thumbs up, go for wood. Step two, bring all the animals, twosies, no problem. There was a smaller problem. I think there was, there we go. So we had one group that missed the shuttle. But, so it's mostly twosies though. Okay, step three. The sun came out and dried up the landy. Go ahead. Everything was fine and dandy, children of the Lord. Cha, right? Done. Step three. Sun came out, rainbow came out, story over, thumbs up, go to bed, good night. So we're all done for the day, actually. So we're going to get out early so we have everything all covered. Almost, though, right? So like I said, I know all about Noah's Ark, clearly. So Noah is a deep, it's a story that our kids grow up with, right? In fact, actually, I think I've got a picture up here. We even decorate our nurseries, right, with Noah's Ark. We got little Timmy. Yes, little Timmy. We've got this lovely decoration here. We've got the rainbow and the ark and this cute little panda bear. That's right. Oh, where's the unicorn? Yeah, they missed it. See, here's the thing, Timmy. God hated so much his creation of all the humans were so evil and violent that he was ready to murder everyone on earth. And that's why we painted it on your room here, to remind you not to be evil and violent. Timmy, sleep well. So Noah's Ark is kind of a darker story than we share with our kids, isn't it? It's much more than a cuddly Sunday school story. We're going to start it off here. We're going to get to what Noah's Ark can possibly mean to a bunch of adults sitting in this room that already know all about the Arky. Genesis chapter 6. A funny thing enough, the chapter in my version of the Bible is titled A World Gone Wrong. This is a great opener. Verse 5. The Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everything they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So the Lord was sorry that he had ever made them and put them on the earth. It broke his heart. And the Lord said, I will wipe out this human race I have created from the face of the earth. Yes, and I will destroy every living thing, all the people, the large animals, the small animals that scurry along the ground, and even the birds of the sky. I am sorry I ever made them. Whoa. Right? Doesn't quite start out as friendly and happy as Arky and Twosies. So the question I had, I read this, the opener, and I said, what did we do in 3 chapters of Genesis to screw this up this bad? Right? Day 6, we made Adam and Eve. It was good. Thumbs up. A few minutes, 27 pages. Nope, not good. Terrible. Wipe it off. Scratch. Start over. So chapter 2, God makes Adam and Eve. Everything was good. Builds the garden. It was great. Protected. It was heaven on earth. We talked a little bit about that last week. Chapter 3, the original sin. Adam, Eve, the apple. I was thinking about it. My wife's from Washington. That's apple country. And every picture I've ever seen, it was Eve and the spider, the serpent. She's got this big, shiny red apple. I said, if Eve doomed all humankind for a red, delicious apple, we're going to have a problem when we get up there. At least it haven't been like a Honey Crisp or something. Something you can really sink your teeth in. But a red, delicious, I don't know about that. It's original sin. We all know about that. We talked about that yesterday. That was our start of our downfall. Chapter 4, Cain and Abel. Nice story of brotherly love, jealousy, murder, punishment, and wandering. PK will share a little bit more about this in coming weeks here, but we start to see the decline of man, evil, violence, terrible things. Chapter 5, Descendants of Adam. That sounds nice, right? Almost. Adam and Eve have another son after Cain and Abel, Seth, who was Noah's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. And he was kind of the only guy that wasn't terrible, right? Until we get up to Noah. However, there was 7 generations of just slowly degraded, terrible human beings on the earth that changed God's mind. And by then, it was too late. We had already messed the whole thing up. Verse 8, but Noah found favor with the Lord. Phew, we got one at least. Noah was a righteous man, the only blameless person living on the earth at the time, and he walked in close fellowship with God. Wow, that's pretty neat, right? We've heard a lot about terrible things, but now all of a sudden there's one shining star, right? There's Noah. He's righteous and blameless. What does that mean? What does it mean to be righteous or blameless in our generation? I like feedback here. Yes, Trenton. Right with God, good. Righteous, yeah, love it. Any other? I mean, you guys can't be outdone by a 11-year-old. Righteous and blameless, right? Means that your heart is focused 100% on God, wholeheartedly loved and obeyed God for a lifetime. Noah walked step by step in the faith as a living example to his generation. We'll hear a little bit more about this. Verse 10, Noah was the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now God saw that the earth had become corrupt and was filled with violence. God observed all the corruption in the world, for everyone on earth was corrupt. So God said to Noah, I have decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them out. I will wipe them all out along with the earth. Rough. So I want to know what Noah's response here is. We don't really get the response back to God, but I can only imagine if God shared this, like, by the way, Noah, everything's terrible, we're going to destroy it. I just picture Noah. He's probably a wood carver, right? He's probably whittling a flute or something. What was that? God, you're going to do what? I don't know how I feel about that. By the way, I enjoyed our walk this morning. It was nice. My legs are a little sore. You take big strides. Tried to catch up with you. But I don't know about this whole ruin the earth thing. Let's read more, see what happens. Verse 14, so make yourself an ark of cypress or gopher wood. Gopher, barky for those Bible scholars. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving the roof an opening of 1 cubit all around. Put a door on the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. Now here's a lot, right? I mean, these are almost blueprints of, at least from what we get from a biblical perspective. So I did a lot of homework. I wanted to make sure to have an accurate representation for you guys. When you picture the ark, it's not like that first picture, right? The giraffe's head's not going to be sticking out the side. So go ahead. I think I have a picture here. It's about the only thing that could fit. You can see there's water slides for the seals and the opening deck. This is for the giraffe, so that's how they solve that problem. Just kidding, of course. However, check this out, guys. This is called the Ark Experience. This is a real live, full-scale model of the Ark that is built in Kentucky. Williamstown, Kentucky. You can go in there. It's a museum. It tells all about all the cool things about how this is scientifically factual, and there's evidence about how all this stuff happens. This is wild stuff. We're not gonna, this is hours just proving how cool that the ark actually was and how real the ark actually was and how real the flood was. So I encourage you to check out the website, and if you're ever in Kentucky, take a look at it. All right. So another neat thing while researching the ark, I found out that the word ark is only used in 2 places in the Bible, and it actually in Hebrew means box or container. It doesn't mean boat. And the only other place that it was ever used in the Bible was to describe the basket that Moses was placed in to float down the Nile River. So there wasn't necessarily a rudder. It was just a big vessel by God's design to keep things safe. Verse 17. Look, I'm about to cover the earth with a flood that will destroy every living creature that breathes. Everything on earth will die. This, I think, is where we actually see Noah's response here, right? Why else would we have to go with, look, so God, I got the dimensions. I'm trying to figure out my cubit transference here. But the whole killing people, I think I've got a bunch of, I've got some friends that are I've got 3 sons that I love, and I'm trying my best to make sure they don't turn out terrible. Look, I am about to cover the earth with a flood that will destroy every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will die. I guarantee you Noah put up a fight for all humanity. Knowing Noah, he loved his common man, and he wanted what was best. But God was done, and he had a plan for Noah. Verse 22, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Remember that. Chapter 7, verse 1. Then the Lord said to Noah, go into the arky, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of... Wait, hold on. That can't be right. The story clearly said twosies. Hold on, let's back this up. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate. So a clean animal in this case would have been anything that was good for sacrifice and good for eating, right? So why do we think we need 7 pairs of the, eat and sacrifice ones? I'll let you come to that conclusion. And also every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. And Noah did all that God commanded him. Do you see any recurring themes here? What made Noah set apart from his generation? Noah was continually and faithfully does exactly what the Lord commanded him, in spite of quite a very large ask. Verse 6, Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came. That can't be right. I just turned 38, And when it gets damp, my hip acts up. I don't know what kind of shape I'm going to be in at 600, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Ark worthy. But Noah was 600 years old when he took on this task. And Noah and his sons and his wife, and Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, of all the creations that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark. I didn't say Noah went and gathered them all up, right? They came to Noah. God clearly had a plan behind all of this. They came to Noah and entered the ark as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the floodwaters came to the earth. So, like I said, Noah didn't scoop them all up, right? I kind of picture Noah. He's got his flute, right? He's probably done by now. He's outside. Probably wearing a kilt. That's how I picture him. Animals start coming in, right? And it also says that it took 7 days for the animals to come in. That was a big parade. Think about the staging line, right? Probably Shem and Ham and Cheese are the, all right, who's in position 7,462? I think it was supposed to be the ants. We're gonna need some more ants. Bring it in here. The anteater says, we're gonna need more than 7 pair of those, by the way. Noah's out front. Birds come in. We had to make a dedicated area for them. Coincidentally, that's how the term poop deck was created. Noah's out front. Aslan comes out, very regal. I like what you got going here. Food, not food. Food, not food. If you do the math, roughly 45,000 animals popped into that ark, sharing 100,000 square feet, which is equal to roughly 570 railroad cars. Who knows anything about trains? Ever seen a train come through Kingman? They're long, right? Not 570 cars long. That is a big circus, I'm telling you. Verse 11, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened up, and rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. It's a long storm. We're not used to those kind of storms out here in Arizona. Did you notice waters came up from underground? So if you study science, there's a lot of underground geysers and wells and whatnot. And so the biblical scientists say that at that point, there was so much pressure built up inside the water by God's design that water not only came down from the sky, it came up from the ground. Also in Genesis 1:7, it tells us that God created an expanse of atmosphere between the waters below and the waters above. Biblical scholars speculate that the waters above created a kind of canopy that covered the earth. Created almost a terrarium effect. Anybody know what terrarium is? I bet you this group does. In science, biology, a couple of that still remember. Terrarium effect, right? It's moist, it's got a cover, there's no harsh UV rays, perfect conditions for life to abundantly flourish. Maybe that's how Noah got to be 600, right? God's design is perfect all the time. But he used that canopy to help the rains come down. And that canopy dissolved, and those perfect conditions for life abundance went away. They suggest that in that moment the canopy was broken and the waters above the earth poured down to create the flood. Chapter 7, verse 13. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Cheese, together with his wife and his wives and his 3 sons, entered the ark. Then the Lord shut him in. That's interesting. It didn't say, then the Lord told Noah to use this really cool pulley that God designed and sent him with a blueprint via a stork to send him that went the ropes up and down and it could, no. God shut him in. We don't know what kind of mechanism or door there was, but presumably there was a way for him to open and close it. But God, the Lord God, shut him in. It's break that down. So just like the garden that was perfect and protected Adam and Eve from all the sin and all the terrible, and was God's perfect design, God also perfectly sent his design for the ark. So the ark was a sort of garden version 2 for Noah and the animals to rebuild the earth again. And it was meant to protect them from the rain and the chaos. It's very interesting that the door was not shut by Noah. When every life that was meant to be saved had boarded the ark, God shut Noah and all who were with him inside. Their security wasn't earned by something that Noah had done. Noah was not the one who decided when the door would be shut or when the opportunity for salvation would be lost to those outside. All of these were exclusively God's prerogative. Verse 17, for 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and the waters increased and lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated to on the surface of the water. I can only imagine Noah is leaning over the edge, all the water's coming in, the ark starts to pick up. Shem, would you run down there and make sure we don't got any leaks? Who put the pitch on the outside by the whales? I hope it'll hold. Phew, it did. Verse 19, they rose greatly on the earth, and all the mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits, 23 feet. That means water was 23 feet above the tallest mountain. It's a lot of water. Everything on dry land that had breath of life in its nostrils died. Everything living on the face of the earth was wiped out. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. The waters flooded the earth 150 days. What do you think it'd be like to be Noah in that case? Feel the weight of the literal world on your shoulders. That this container that God has beautifully and wonderfully created, that I have helped be a part of, this is it. This is round 2 for the earth. And watching the waters still, knowing what was underneath them. This is God's judgment exacted. Chapter 8, verse 1. But God remembered Noah. Phew. He sent a wind to blow across the earth, and the flood waters began to recede. One question I asked my kiddos, I said, how long was Noah a part of this whole Noah's Arky thing? They're like, Dad, I know this. I'm a Bible scholar too. Remember at 5, you sent me, we got everything. 40 days. 40 days was how long it rained. We're going to break down. 150 days, they sat there at water's full height. That's 5 months. Then the mountaintops could be seen by a little bit. 40 more days waited. Noah released a raven and a dove. They didn't come back. 7 more days they waited. Tried again. Dove returned with an olive leaf. Good sign. 7 more days, released a dove. Dove didn't come back. Really good sign. 2 more months of waiting for the ground to dry. It's almost a full year when God started out on this adventure. Not just 40 days. This was a big deal. At 600, he must have been in good shape. Must have done his Pilates. Chapter 8, verse 15. Then God said to Noah, leave the ark. All of you, you and your wife and your sons and their wives, release all the animals, the birds, the livestock, and some more. And the small animals that scurry along the ground, so they can be fruitful and multiply throughout the earth. My commentary in the Bible at the bottom said they had work to do. I can only imagine it was the bunnies that came off the boat at first to help repopulate the earth. And then, no doubtedly, Ham and his wife were second run off the boat. God, we're going to go do your work, holy work. Verse 20, then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and there he sacrificed as burnt offerings the animals and birds that had been approved for the purpose. Remember the 7 Z's by 7 Z's? The clean animals. And the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice and said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. Whoa. That's another rough one, right? God's like, I'm not going to do it again, but y'all are still terrible, from even the little bitty ones. What does this tell us about the human nature since the fall? We were wholly and perfectly made in God's image in the garden. And screwed it up. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. Where am I? Here we go. But Noah was faithful, and he thanked and worshiped the Lord for keeping his promise. Verse 14, when I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will appear in the clouds, and I will remember my covenant to you and with all living creatures. Never again will floodwaters destroy all life. When I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth. Then God said to Noah, yes, this rainbow is the sign of the covenant I am confirming with all the creatures on the earth. This is where the sun came out and dried up the landy and everything was almost fine and dandy, right? This is the part of God's grace. This is the part where we see God's covenant and we see the beauty of his creation unadulterated. The rainbow is our sign of God's promise. Oh, there. That's nice. So, you leave that up. So, what are our takeaways? What does human nature look like after the original sin? So, God was proud of his creation. Day 6, God created Adam and Eve. Everything was hunky-dory, thumbs up, perfect in God's image. And we screwed it up, right? For a red delicious. What was the deciding factor there? What was the devil? Folks, the devil is real. And the only thing that has stopped us from still being in the garden right now is the devil. Now we have to take some ownership of that, right? We allow him to come in. We allow ourselves to do his will, not God's. How can we build our ark? We need to learn to shut out the bad, folks. We got a lot of bad out there. I don't know if you listen to the podcast I do, but there's a lot of bad out there. Beware of what you watch, what you hear, what you listen to, what you allow yourself to be a part of. Shut out the bad. Be in constant prayer and studying the Bible. Build those garden walls up high and that protective barrier. And just in case, keep on hand plenty of gopher barky. What else? God saves and protects those who are dedicated and walk with him. So how can we be more like Noah? What does it mean like to walk with God? Any thoughts, suggestions? I know Trent's got a few up his sleeve. What does it mean like to walk with God? Obey him. Good. Give him the glory. Great. Any other thoughts? Good. Excellent. Faith in God, not yourself. Make sure that... Sorry.
Walk in the Spirit, you won't fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Yep, walk in the Spirit. Excellent. Perfect. Make sure that your actions are pleasing to the Lord. Spend plenty of time in prayer. And here's the thing. God listened to Noah. How often do we ask God to hear his words? It's easy. I won't say it's easy. It's much more tangible to read something in the Bible and say, yep, okay, got it, don't do that, it's terrible, right? God says do this. But what about actually listening to God and ask God, praying God, I'm here. Let me hear your words. It is so hard. There's so much white noise out there. I encourage you all in your prayer time to open your ears to what the Lord has to say. You may not always feel like you hear something, but you're not going to hear anything if you don't try. Faithfully do what God asks. Noah was righteous and blameless in his time. In a world of evil and violence, he was set apart. That his whole generation was in this bucket, and Noah was in his own. That God said, yep, that's the bucket you need to be in, God, in Noah, that make you right with me. Now, it also says blameless. What does blameless mean? And we know that Noah wasn't perfect, right? We know that Noah sinned. What does it mean to be blameless? When we sin, we are to blame. When we ask for forgiveness, that blame is lifted from our shoulders. We become blameless at that time. Chapter 6, verse 22, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. I want that on my tombstone. That's said 3 times in the Bible about Noah. I encourage you to think of what it would take for when your family is ready to celebrate your movement on with God, that they can only think, what should we put on the tombstone? Matt did everything just as God commanded him. Not yet. Working on it. God's covenant, our rainbow, right? It's a covenant, it's a commitment. It's what we talked about, that promise from God with the children this morning. He will never send a flood to wipe out humanity. However, his judgment will come. And that's a fact, and we can read all about that. The only thing that can save us from the coming judgment is Jesus Christ. Just as God sent a perfect design to Noah for his salvation, he sent Jesus Christ for ours. Pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you for everything you've given us. Thank you for your mercy and grace and love and your Son, Jesus Christ, Lord. Thank you for reminding us in these stories, Lord, about the power of the Creator, Lord, that everything you say and will to be done will be done. And when the world gets to a place where you are done with it, Lord, I pray that you remember us. And I pray that every day, every person in this room comes to Jesus. And say, Lord, Jesus, I am to blame. It is my responsibility for the sin that I own. But only you can make me perfect and blameless again, to join you in heaven, Lord. So as we go out into the world, Lord, I pray that you keep this in our back of our minds, in the front of our minds, that you keep Noah and his family and all the lessons that we've learned here today, and remind us that Jesus is the only way to survive in a world like ours. In your name we pray, amen.